Years ago, I thought Bitcoin was a scam. I couldn't wrap my head around it. And honestly, I wanted nothing to do with Bitcoin. But then I learned something that changed everything. And I went from being a skeptic to being a believer. So in 2020, I decided to start allocating 5% of my portfolio to Bitcoin. And I bought the Bitcoin with the intention of never selling it. Back then, Bitcoin was trading for about $11,000. When you fast forward to today, it's hovering around $100,000 and the world is all watching. But here's the question, are we witnessing just another Bitcoin cycle, or could this be the final cycle before mass adoption? By the end of this video, you're gonna know exactly why I believe this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and what you can do about it. Hey there, my friend. Welcome back to the Wealth Outside of Wall Street YouTube channel, where we challenge conventional financial wisdom and we help you take control over your money and your future. Today, we're gonna be diving into Bitcoin, the asset that's been praised, criticized, and massively misunderstood. In this video, I'm going to explain Bitcoin cycles. I'm also going to talk about why we might be at the start of one of its most important phases yet. Then I'm going to show you how to position yourself for what's coming next. Whether you're brand new to Bitcoin or you've been sitting on the sidelines, I want you to stick with me because this is your chance to rewrite your financial future. So before we dive into Bitcoin cycles and its potential future, let me start with the basics. What are cryptocurrencies and what makes Bitcoin unique in the space of cryptocurrency? At its core, cryptocurrency is a digital currency. It's a medium of exchange, and it operates independently of centralized institutions like banks or especially governments. The rise of cryptocurrencies was driven by a deep frustration with traditional government-issued currencies, also known as a fiat currency. To understand this, we need to take a look at the history of money itself. A fiat currency, like the US dollar today, is not backed by a tangible asset like gold or silver. Instead, they derive their value purely from government decree, the government stating, hey, the dollar has value, and public trust in that decree. The problem is governments can print as much of this money as they want, which leads to inflation, devaluation, and massive loss of trust. We've seen this happening at a record pace over the last 5, 10, 15 years in the United States. And it's not a new issue. It dates all the way back to ancient Rome when the government began debasing its own currency, Roman coins. Once were made of pure silver, but they gradually diluted this with cheaper metals to fund wars and other expenses. Might sound familiar, right? The result of this is the coins, they lost value, and the people suffered, and the Roman Empire eventually collapsed. Now, if you take that story and fast forward all the way to today, the same thing is happening with the dollar right now. Every time the government prints money, it literally taxes us without our consent by reducing the value of the dollars that we already have. This hidden tax is known as inflation, and it means your money is getting less and less valuable over time. So cryptocurrency was born as a solution to this problem. It's the people's currency, a way to fight back against government manipulation of money. Unlike fiat currencies, cryptocurrencies, like Bitcoin, are completely decentralized, at least for now. And they are not controlled by governments, and therefore they cannot be printed out of existence. Bitcoin in particular is designed to be a sound form of currency. Its supply is capped at 21 million coins. This ensures that no central authority can debase its value. This scarcity, combined with its decentralized nature, makes Bitcoin fundamentally different from all fiat currencies. Think about Bitcoin kind of like digital gold. Just like gold, it's a store of value and a hedge against inflation. But unlike gold, Bitcoin is far easier to transfer, divide, and use as a modern form of digital currency in our economy. It's a currency designed for the internet age, secure, transparent, and immune to the whims of the government and the central banks. So now that we understand what cryptocurrency is and why it's a form of currency in the modern day, let's talk a little bit about the Bitcoin cycle. So first off, let's start with the basics. Bitcoin moves in 4-year cycles, driven by something called the halving. Every 4 years, the supply of new Bitcoin entering the market is cut in half. This event creates scarcity. This is one of the fundamental drivers of Bitcoin's price. If you look at this logarithmic chart of Bitcoin's price history, you'll see a pattern. A massive bull run following every halving, followed by a bubble, then a crash, and then ultimately a recovery. This has happened like clockwork since 2012. And in April 2024, we had the most recent halving, which means we're now entering the early stages of the next cycle. History suggests that 2025 could be a massively explosive year for Bitcoin. Okay, so let's go into why this cycle could be the last. Now listen, my friends, this isn't just another bull market. This might be the moment where Bitcoin transitions from a speculative asset to a global standard of value. Here's why. First off, publicly traded companies are scrambling for Bitcoin right now. MicroStrategy owns 1.2% of all Bitcoin, worth nearly $25 billion. Other companies are following suit, adding Bitcoin to their balance sheets to protect against inflation and boost shareholder value. Number 2, nations are adopting Bitcoin massively. El Salvador made Bitcoin legal tender and started accumulating it. The United States, under President Trump, is reportedly planning to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve targeting 1 million Bitcoin, nearly 5% of the total world supply. I mean, that's pretty crazy. Trump wants the United States to be the crypto capital of the planet and the Bitcoin superpower of the world. Those are some pretty bold statements from the leader of the free world. And even Wall Street is taking notice. They're now jumping on the Bitcoin bandwagon, but I want you to be careful about Wall Street because they're doing it with a twist. In a bid to retain assets under management, financial institutions are now offering Bitcoin and Bitcoin-related products like ETFs so they can charge fees to manage it for you. Ironically, this move defies the very ethos of Bitcoin, decentralization and financial sovereignty. Bitcoin was designed to empower individuals to take control over their wealth, not hand it over to the intermediaries and be charged for the privilege of doing it. But still, it's a significant milestone worth noting that Wall Street is now getting into the game of cryptocurrency. But here's the reason that it's important that Wall Street is taking notice. Bitcoin ETFs are gaining traction. It's making it easier for everyday investors to add Bitcoin and other forms of cryptocurrency to their portfolios through traditional brokerage accounts. Pension funds and institutional money managers are beginning to incorporate Bitcoin into diversified strategies, and this is signaling a growing acceptance among legacy financial players. This shift shows that Bitcoin is no longer just a niche asset for tech enthusiasts and early adopters. It's becoming a serious contender in the mainstream financial world. These trends point to one thing: Bitcoin is moving closer and closer to mass adoption. And when this happens, the boom and bust cycles that we've seen will likely flatten out, making Bitcoin more like a global currency than a speculative asset. Now that you know all of this, here's where it starts to get fascinating. As fiat currencies lose their value through inflation, people are hoarding hard assets like Bitcoin and gold. This is known as Gresham's Law. Bad money drives out good money. But here's the catch. As fiat currency collapses further, the demand for dollars temporarily spikes because prices are still denominated in dollars. People scramble for cash to buy things like Bitcoin, gold, and any other hard asset. This is kind of like a going out of business sell for the dollar, and it's exactly what we're seeing right now. Global demand for dollars is at a multi-decade high. And as you can see from this graph, cash in circulation has reached its highest point in history. In fact, cash in circulation has tripled over the past 15 years. What this ultimately means is a massive shift. People aren't buying T-bills or bonds. They're looking for the door. Now, I'm not arguing that a big dollar collapse is going to happen tomorrow. These things take time, years, even decades to play out. But this is the tipping point. Eventually, we're going to see prices and salaries denominated in Bitcoin. That's when you know that Bitcoin has transitioned from a store of value to a medium of exchange, and potentially the world's new money. So what can you do with this knowledge? Well, my friends, simple. The first step to change is awareness. Now that you understand what Bitcoin is, the cycles that it has gone through, and the stage of adoption that we're entering, you can begin to use this awareness to your advantage. But before we dive into strategies, let's take a moment to reflect on what wealth and money truly mean. Money is simply a medium of exchange. It's a tool that we use to trade for things that we value most. Wealth, on the other hand, is freedom. It's the ability to make choices and create options based on the assets that you've accumulated and the value that you've stored. Here's the truth. Nobody really wants money, whether that's Bitcoin, gold, or real estate, for the sake of just having those things. What we really want are the things that these assets allow us to trade for. Think about it. You use assets to buy a home or to put food on the table, meeting your basic needs for safety and security. But having more money in your life allows you to continue to climb the ladder of improving your quality of life and move up the hierarchy of needs toward freedom, meaningful experiences, and ultimately adventure. This is the ultimate purpose that money is meant to serve, helping you create, to build and live a life that matters, rich and meaningful. Bitcoin is unique because, like gold, it's a store of value. It serves as a hedge against the risk of inflation and the declining value of fiat currencies like the dollar. A hedge is not primarily an investment, it's a form of protection. In this case, it offsets the risk of the dollar losing value as the government continues to print more money. But as we've discussed today, the trends suggest that Bitcoin could eventually become more than just a store of value. It can become a widely accepted medium of exchange, a true currency. But until that day comes, I want you to think about Bitcoin first as a hedge, protecting you against the devaluation of the dollar, and second, a speculative investment, something that might gain more value as it gains more mass adoption. And one final note, don't gamble your life savings on a speculation. Take a measured approach and focus on the long term. So if you're curious about how to strategically integrate Bitcoin in your financial freedom journey, join me on the next video, where I'm going to be breaking down Bitcoin and cryptocurrency investment strategies for you to consider. So my friends, now it's time to take action. Here's what I want you to do. Number one, share this video with a friend and start a conversation. The more people that understand Bitcoin and what's happening in the financial world, the more empowered we all become. Number two, I want you to leave a comment below. What's your biggest takeaway from this video? Because I'd love to hear your thoughts. And number three, if you're not subscribed yet, my friends, what are you waiting for? Join me as a subscriber on the Wealth Outside of Wall Street channel and take control over your money and your life. Our mission is to empower you to achieve financial freedom in 10 years or less. And don't forget to join me on the next video, where we're going to explore the Bitcoin investment strategy designed to help you protect your wealth and build your financial future. The Bitcoin revolution is happening right now. Your freedom is waiting, and my friends, it's time to rise up and claim it.